transition is going to be developing products, say, for African markets, because you have to be worried about both the cost of it, but also the ecological efficiency of it. And that will lead to a new generation of products that are a lot more, much smaller footprint. And I could get into great detail on this, because this is really why I'm interested in Slovenia as a country, is to lead in this transition towards low carbon strategies for development using PoliMaT. Because that's really the way to go. But there will be intermediate stages in that we can't do bigly. There will be intermediate stages where you're optimizing the efficiency of traditional uses, and then you move to really clean technologies towards the end. Yes, please.
What you say about use of green technology really resonates with what Slovenia believes in too, because I think this is a very environmentally conscious country. Even if there's a change of government, and one government may pay more attention to it than the other, it has a very strong record on environmental issues here, a very green country. My question to you is one about diplomacy, and I saw Matea included diplomacy amongst many areas where they're looking to exploit it. And you had a meeting yesterday with President Tick, who is first and foremost a law professor and then a career diplomat at the UN before becoming president of this country. And I wonder what lessons you think there might be for Slovenia's diplomacy. Slovenia currently has an embassy in Egypt, and I think that's almost it in Africa. They're thinking about maybe an embassy in South Africa in the future, who knows, perhaps Nigeria. And I think they have good links with Cape Verde as well. But I wonder whether there isn't scope, just like Vodafone are doing a lot of their research in Africa, and then developing products which are good for the African market, which can be produced more cheaply, and then sold elsewhere, and the Asians are doing the same, and the Koreans you mentioned. And couldn't some big Slovenian companies start thinking of doing the same? And shouldn't the Slovenian international diplomatic network be thinking a bit more about Africa than it is already?
Yeah, if anybody asked me to rewrite the Slovenian foreign policy, I would do it in a week. Because it's very clear in my mind what Slovenia needs to do as a leader in this area of biopolymers. In fact, Taiwan did a similar thing where almost all its diplomats for a long period, whatever they want, there were people who had some knowledge of semiconductors. For a long time, the ambassador, for over a 15-year period, the Chinese ambassador to the United States was always an engineer. Again, for very practical reasons, which is projecting their image as a country that was building engineering sciences. And I would argue the same point for Slovenia. This is something that His Excellency, the President here, understands, having been a diplomat, which is speaking an area which is like sustainability more broadly, so that you can capture other technologies. So that it's not just polymers, otherwise you get resistance from other constituencies. And you don't want to have that fight. And then say our job, our role as a country, as a sovereign contribution of the global community, is to contribute to the sustainability transition. And then instead of going through the classical system of appointing bilateral diplomats, you start to appoint diplomats whose main task is to champion this idea. I would say, for example, the Slovenian ambassador in Nairobi just talking about biopolymers and the transition towards sustainability and other technologies, because that's the headquarters of the United Nations Environment Program. If I was president of Slovenia, I would be appointing that person in the next month or two. Knowing there's some restrictions in terms of the political timetable of this country, I've been briefed about that. But it doesn't have to be a diplomat from Slovenia being posted, sent to Nairobi. This country can appoint somebody who is already in Nairobi to act on behalf of Slovenia, who is knowledgeable about environmental issues. But if Slovenia is going to lead in this area of being a promoter of sustainability transition, the shift towards biomaterials, you need people and they don't have to be, in fact, they they don't have to be scientists. It's a matter of instruction they get from the capital, which means having people in the presidency who understand these issues, who can define areas where Slovenia should have representation. Since you are thinking about the area of biomaterials, so thinking which are the countries in the world that lead in this area, countries like Japan, having somebody who is present there, but your engagement in that country is around these issues, not just around general bilateral conversations. I know this is being recorded, but I'm going to say this completely off the record. And if anybody says I said it, I will deny it. And because I have more Twitter followers, I will call you a liar. But I was talking with the colleagues in Denmark, which is going through a similar discussion at the moment. And the leaders in the industry, this is the pharmaceutical industry, where they have their own ambassadors, but they're industry ambassadors, which is really what Mattea is trying to do with Akron and other places, who said when they talk to the ambassador in Tokyo about collaboration between Denmark and Tokyo on technology issues, the ambassador said, look, my job here in Tokyo is to make sure that Japan does not invade Denmark, because I'm here as a diplomat to keep peace between our nations. I'm not here to promote many other different things. But this can be changed easily in terms of having a coherent vision driven by the leadership of saying, this is who we want to be as a sovereign state. We want to promote this particular idea, and then to pick diplomats to champion that idea. In fact, the UK did this recently on climate change, or climate change ambassadors. And everywhere the UK went, you had a UK diplomat. You could look at his face or her face, and you know that in the first 2-3 sentences, the word climate is going to appear. And it's actually very simple. Chile did this at one point, where they gave instructions to their diplomatic people and said, it doesn't matter what you say, so long as in the first 2-3 paragraphs you mention the word science and technology. And diplomats can be very creative in making sure that it doesn't matter what the topic is, they will make the connection. This will be my answer to your question, is that is where Slovenia positions itself to be a sovereign champion of these types of technologies, and then says, this is what we are offering to the global community. One of the consequences of that is that everybody is going to come to, who is interested in those ideas, will come to Slovenia as well. And it doesn't take very much to become a champion in a particular field. You don't have to train diplomats to become scientists. It's really a matter of managing the policy and giving adequate directions to the diplomats. You don't have to create a lot of embassies. I think you need a few in strategic locations. But you can actually work with appointing engineers and scientists or other diplomats in those countries to act as your representatives to champion those ideas. This is very easy to do, and I hope that in a few months we could hear some pronouncements out of Ljubljana about Ljubljana wanting to lead diplomatically, because we have a head of state who understands how the diplomatic missionary actually works. And I hope that he does this before October.
I have one very practical question. My task is in PoliMaT to coordinate or to make some good consortium for development project within Europe or a little broader. And we have every European country has a budget for development nationally. We have a quite big budget in the European Union, where we have several calls for members a little bit broader. Turkey, Israel sometimes, India sometimes, bilateral projects with Norway, America sometimes. But I have never heard for a call with some African country. And we have a commissioner which was Commissioner for Development 3 years ago. Now he is Commissioner for Environment. Janez Potočnik is the name. We are all Janez. I'm Janez. So my question is how to start, because it is difficult to start a new project without money. Nobody work for only for job, for hobby. You understand my problem?
Yeah.
There are scientists around and everybody is asking how I will be paid for that in the future. And Slovenia is not very rich country. Africa is a little bit richer, you said. How to start?
Yeah.
Is my question.
Let me give you, this again goes back to the point that Ambassador Page raised, which has to do with diplomatic activism. In that if Slovenia says this is the area that we want to focus on, and this is also the area that's going to define the way we as Slovenia collaborate with other countries, then you take this to the EU. When I used to work for the United Nations, and I had something I wanted to champion, I went to London and I talked to the Foreign Office in London. And before I knew it, somebody at the Foreign Office in London turned up in Brussels. Before I knew it, it became the EU position. And then I had a constituency of countries to actually champion it. That's the way I would recommend to have a broader impact so that you can leverage other countries, because you have colleagues here from Austria, you have the UK here, you're collaborating with German institutions. So the area of PoliMaT research is not just limited to you. You can build this as an EU-wide program in pushing for this sustainability transition. The OECD countries have already committed themselves to this idea of bioeconomy between now and 2030 or something like that. It's a strategy by the OECD countries called a bioeconomy. As we speak, many of my colleagues from the US who work on these issues are actually in Indonesia, where the US is working, partnering with Indonesia to help Indonesia make this transition towards the bioeconomy. That's one way that I would actually recommend to have a great impact, so that you are not acting alone, but to do this through diplomatic activism of rallying other colleagues. But you are not going to rally other colleagues unless this becomes a central theme in the foreign policy of the country. But as soon as countries respect others, if you say, we as Slovenia, we want to work on PoliMaT, this is what we're championing this worldwide, other countries will respect that and will work with them, because they are also championing something else. And you'll start to see connections, say, between what Slovenia wants to do and what UK is committed to climate change. These ideas have huge implications to climate change, because they're offering technological solutions to lowering the carbon footprint. That's the practical approach, I would say, which is very much linked to what His Excellency just mentioned about Slovenia championing this as a diplomatic effort. Beyond that, it's so easy to find partners. I was 2-3 weeks ago, I was receiving an honorary degree in one of the Kenyan universities, and I just mentioned in passing, said, oh, there's this work going on PoliMaT in Slovenia. I've become like a Slovenian diplomat.